adjust the camera here. And take a drink. All right. Been a while since I've done one of these. Let me check my hair. My hair looks nice. Glasses. It's about time I shaved right here. All right. So I'm just gonna be waiting a couple minutes to see if anybody joins, but then we're gonna get right on into it. So for those of you who are going back and watching this video once it's gone on, you know, it's no longer live, we're gonna continue reading Treasure Island. It's been a while since I've done one of these. It's been a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months. I said I was gonna do this like once or twice a week, and then I got busy and haven't been doing it. But I still want to finish this before the end of the year, which is not very far away. We're almost through October already, so I've basically got to do one of these every single day in order to finish this before the end of the year, which is brilliant. And while we're waiting for people to join, I've got to figure out a way to entertain those of you who are not live. You can see behind me my bookshelf. I've gotten quite a few more books since last time, so the bookshelf looks a bit changed. You can see I've got quite a few movies here as well. Let's see if I turn this over that way. Yeah. It goes all the way out to here, and then right there, those are video games. But yeah, I've got quite a few more books than I had last time. I'm in the middle of reading, where is it? This one. I'm reading this one right here, currently, which is a really good book. I put it back on the shelf because I didn't like the hole that was right there. Now we've got one viewer. Hello. Gonna wait at least 2 more minutes before I start reading. Ooh, 12 viewers. Good grief. Hello. That was a big jump. Hello. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading Treasure Island, and we're going to be reading chapter 6. And it's been a while since I've read. I was doing a reading once a week, and then things got busy, and it's been like a couple months since 23. Good grief, everything's jumping up all of a sudden. This is the most viewers I've ever had on one of these, actually. 23 viewers, that's a lot. But yeah, I'm still gonna wait. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, I'm gonna wait 1 more minute before I start reading. But yeah. I've even got a couple books over here on my shelf, getting back to talking about books. But, this shelf doesn't exactly fit it. It's kind of full. How am I? I'm doing all right. How are you doing? Let's see. I think it's about time to start reading. So, as I've liked to joke about, it's time to take the covers off. My book is kind of old. It's missing the spine, and so the covers came off. And I always take the covers off at the beginning. Got to take out the bookmark. And yes, it is in fact chapter 6 that I'm reading. Let's see. Oh, it's only a couple pages. Well, let's go ahead and start reading then. So, Chapter 6 of Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, The Captain's Papers. We rode hard all the way till we drew up before Dr. Livesey's door. The house was all dark to the front. Mr. Dance told me to jump down and knock, and Dogger gave me a stirrup to descend by. The door was opened almost at once by the maid. "Is Dr. Livesey in?" I asked. "No," she said. He had come home in the afternoon, but had gone up to the hall to dine and pass the evening with the squire. "So there we go, boys," said Mr. Dance. This time, as the distance was short, I did not mount, but ran with Dogger's stirrup leather to the lodge gates and up the long, leafless, moonlit avenue to where the white line of the hall buildings looked on great old gardens. Here Mr. Dance dismounted, and, taking me along with him, was admitted at a word into the house. The servant led us down a matted passage, and showed us at the end into a great library, all lined with bookcases, with busts on the top of them, where the squire and Dr. Livesey sat, pipes in hand, on either side of a bright fire. I had never seen the squire so near at hand. He was a tall man, over 6 feet high, and broad in proportion, and he had a bluff, rough and ready face, all roughened and reddened and lined in his long travels. His eyebrows were very black and moved readily, and this gave him a look of some temper. Not bad, you would say, but quick and high. "Come in, Mr. Dance," said he in a very stately and condescending manner. "Good evening, Dance," said the doctor with a nod. "And good evening to you, friend Jim. What brings you here?" The supervisor stood up straight and stiff and told his story like a lesson. And you should have seen how the two gentlemen leaned forward and looked at each other and forgot to smoke in their surprise and interest. When they heard how my mother went back to the inn, Dr. Livesey fairly slapped his thigh, and the squire cried, "Bravo," and broke his long pipe against the grate. Oh dear. Long before it was done, Mr. Trelawney, that you will remember was the squire's name, had got up from his seat and was striding about the room, and the doctor, as if to hear the better, had taken off his powdered wig and sat there, looking very strange with his own close-cropped black poll. At last Mr. Dance finished the story. "Mr. Dance," said the squire, "you are a very noble fellow, and as for riding down that black, atrocious miscreant, I regard it as an act of virtue, sir, like stamping on a cockroach. This lad Hawkins is a trump, I perceive. Hawkins, will you ring that bell? Mr. Dance must have some ale." "And so, Jim," said the doctor, "you have the thing that they were after, have you?" "Here it is, sir," said I, and gave him the oilskin packet. The doctor looked it all over, as if his fingers were itching to open it, but, instead of doing that, he put it quietly in the pocket of his coat. "Squire," said he, "when Dance has had his ale, he must, of course, be off on his Majesty's service. But I mean to keep Jim Hawkins here to sleep at my house, and, with your permission, I propose we should have up the cold pie and let him sup." "As you will, Livesey," said the squire. "Hawkins has earned better than cold pie." So a big pigeon pie was brought in and put on a side table, and I made a hearty supper, for I was as hungry as a hawk, while Mr. Dance was complimented and at last dismissed. "And now, squire," said the doctor. "And now, Livesey," said the squire in the same breath. One at a time, laughed Dr. Livesey. "You have heard of this Flint, I suppose?" "Heard of him," cried the squire. "Heard of him, you say? He was the bloodthirstiest buccaneer that sailed. Blackbeard was a child to Flint. The Spaniards were so prodigiously afraid of him, I tell you, sir. I was sometimes proud he was an Englishman. I've seen his topsails with these eyes, off Trinidad, and the cowardly son of a rum puncheon that I sailed with put back, sir, into port of Spain." "Well, I've heard of him myself, in England," said the doctor. "But the point is, had he money?" "Money!" cried the squire. "Have you heard the story? What were these villains after but money? What did they care for but money? And what would they risk their rascal carcasses but money? "That we shall soon know," replied the doctor. "But you are so confoundedly hot-headed and exclamatory that I cannot get a word in. What I want to know is this. Supposing that I have here in my pocket some clue to where Flint buried his treasure, will that treasure amount to much?" "Amount, sir!" cried the squire. "It will amount to this. If we have the clue you talk about, I'll fit out a ship in Bristol dock, and take you and Hawkins here along, and I'll have that treasure if I search a year." "Very well," said the doctor. "Now then, if Jim is agreeable, we'll open the packet." And he laid it before him on the table. The bundle was sewn together, and the doctor had to get out his instrument case and cut the stitches with his medical scissors. It contained two things, the book and a sealed paper. "First of all, we'll try the book," observed the doctor. The squire and I were both peering over his shoulder as he opened it, for Dr. Livesey had kindly motioned me to come round from the side table, where I had been eating, to enjoy the sport of the search. On the first page, there were only some scraps of writing, such as a man with a pen in his hand might make for idleness or practice. One was the same as the tattoo mark, Billy Bones, his fancy. Then there were Mr. W. Bones, mate. No more rum. Off Palm Key he got it, spelled with two T's, and some other snatches, mostly single words and unintelligible. I could not help wondering who it was that had got it, and what it was that he got. A knife in his back, as like as not. "Not much instruction there," said Dr. Livesey. The next 10 or 12 pages were filled with a curious series of entries. There was a date at one end of the line, and at the other a sum of money, as in common account books. But instead of explanatory writing, only a varying number of crosses between the two. On the 12th of June, 1745, for instance, a sum of £70 had plainly become due to someone, and there was nothing but 6 crosses to explain the cause. In a few cases, to be sure, the name of a place would be added, as off Caracas. I don't know what that means, or where that is. Or a mere entry of latitude and longitude, as 62 degrees, 17 minutes, 20 seconds, 19 degrees, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. The record lasted over nearly 20 years. The amount of the separate entries growing larger as time went on, and at the end a grand total had been made out, after 5 or 6 wrong additions, and these words appended. Bones, his pile. "I can't make head or tail of this," said Dr. Livesey. "The thing is as clear as noonday," cried the squire. "This is the Black-Hearted Hound's account book. These crosses stand for the names of ships or towns that they sank or plundered. The sums are the scoundrel's share, and where he feared an ambiguity, you see he added something clearer. Off Caracas. Now, you see, here was some unhappy vessel boarded off that coast. God help the poor souls that manned her. Coral, long ago." "Right," said the doctor. "See what it is to be a traveler." "Right, and the amounts increase, you see, as he rose in rank." There was little else in the volume but a few bearings of places noted in the blank leaves, and a table for reducing French, English, and Spanish moneys to a common standard of value. "Thrifty man," cried the doctor. "He wasn't the one to be cheated." "And now," said the squire, "for the other." The paper had been sealed in several places, with a thimble by way of seal, the very thimble, perhaps, that I had found in the captain's pocket. The doctor opened the seals with great care, and there fell out the map of an island, with latitude and longitude, soundings, names of hills and bays and inlets, and every particular that would be needed to bring a ship to a safe anchorage upon its shores. It was about 9 miles long and 5 across, shaped, as you might say, like a fat dragon standing up, and had 2 fine landlocked harbors, and a hill in the center part marked the Spyglass. There were several editions of a later date, but above all, there were 3 crosses of red ink, 2 on the north part of the island and 1 in the southwest. And beside this last, in the same red ink and in a small, neat hand, very different from the captain's tawdry characters, these words, "Bulk of treasure here." Over on the back, the same hand had written this further information. "Tall tree, spyglass shoulder, bearing a point to the north of north-northeast. Skeleton Island, east-southeast and by east, 10 feet. The bar silver is in the north cache. You can find it by the trend of the east hummock, 10 fathoms south of the black crag with the face on it. The arms are easy found in the sand hill, north point of North Inlet Cape, bearing east, and a quarter N, JF." That was all, but brief as it was, and, to me, incomprehensible, it filled the squire and Dr. Livesey with delight. "Livesey," said the squire, "you will give up this wretched practice at once. Tomorrow I start for Bristol. In 3 weeks' time, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 10 days, we'll have the best ship, sir, and the choicest crew in England. Hawkins shall come as cabin boy. You'll make a famous cabin boy, Hawkins. You, Livesey, are ship's doctor. I am admiral. We'll take Redruth, Joyce, and Hunter. We'll have favorable winds, a quick passage, and not the least difficulty in finding the spot. Excuse me. And we'll have money to eat, to roll in, to play ducks and drakes with ever after." Excuse me. "Trelawney," said the doctor, "I'll go with you, and I'll go bail for it. So will Jim, and be a credit to the undertaking. There's only one man I'm afraid of." "And who's that?" cried the squire. "Name the dog, sir." "You," replied the doctor, "for you cannot hold your tongue. We are not the only men who know of this paper. These fellows who attacked the inn tonight, bold, desperate blades for sure, and the rest who stayed aboard that lugger, and more, I dare say, not far off, are, one and all, through thick and thin, bound that they'll get that money. We must none of us go alone till we get to sea. Excuse me. Jim and I shall stick together in the meanwhile. You'll take Joyce and Hunter when you ride to Bristol, and from first to last, not one of us must breathe a word of what we've found." "Livesey," returned the squire, "you are always in the right of it. I'll be silent as the grave." And that is the end of chapter 6. And apparently reading is boring, because now I have no viewers. I had as many as 23, but it went all the way down to 0 again right at the end. Let me read some of these words. Somebody says, "How are you?" Hi. A bunch of other people say hi. God bless you. Hello. "Do I have a Sonic the Hedgehog book?" No, I do not. "You are a great reader." Thank you. I try to read well, but sometimes it doesn't exactly work. "What's the best book?" What's the best book? Well, the best book to read is the Bible, I think. That's a good book. But other than the Bible, my favorite book, let's see, I have my favorite book actually right here. It's Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I think that's how her name is pronounced. It's a really good book. It was first published in 1842. And I just recently finished reading through it. It's a really good book, I think. And maybe after I finish Treasure Island, I might start reading this one as well. But for now, I'm just trying to read through Treasure Island. And since I need to get it done before the end of the year, and I'm only on chapter 7 now, let's see, how many chapters are there? I think I might have to read a chapter a day in order to finish it before the end of the year. So you'll probably be able to expect me around this time tomorrow to read. Yeah, it's got 33 chapters. So, okay, maybe not every single day will I read, but gotta read fairly frequently. I might even read a couple chapters in a day. But even if I read a couple chapters, I'm gonna have to separate it out to different videos, so I'd have to end this stream to go to another chapter if I were to read another one today, for example. Because I want to be able to have every single chapter separate on my channel later. So yeah, that's the end. That's all I'm gonna read for now. Just one other thing though, I've got a book that I'm ready to publish, and I'm trying to get it published. I wanted to get it published this year, but the process to do that is a little difficult. But I should have it published by summer of next year. Just putting that out there. What is the book called? It's a really funny title. It sounds like a bunch of gibberish. It's called Muplion Pertigop Floppencob. I'm gonna go get my handwritten copy of it that I've got over here. Here it is. So I wrote it out before I put it into type. Yeah, I wrote it out, and then I got a computer, so I typed it all out. And so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get it published. I've got a guy working on the front picture, and he's gonna get the colors on it by the 2nd of November. So it should definitely be done by the time I'm ready to publish. Right now I'm just waiting for the Copyright Office to approve it, which could still take another month or two, maybe more. You'd be surprised how long it takes to get a copyright. So yeah. Alright, so I read Treasure Island. I might read Jane Eyre later on. I've also got this. I was given this for my birthday not long ago. It's a bunch of Jules Verne books. It's got 5 Weeks in a Balloon, A Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Around the World in 80 Days. And actually, I'm in the middle of reading through 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea already. I'm actually reading through a couple books. I'm reading the Fight Like a Man up here, like I said. And I'm also reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I just finished reading The Hunger Games. It's a really good series. Let's stick those back up there. Excuse me. What other books are there that I might be able to read? Oh, The Scarlet Letter, Pilgrim's Progress. I've got some Charles Dickens. So yeah. You're on the 2nd of the Hunger Games? This one? Yeah. Have you read them before? I hadn't read them before, but I'd seen the movies. Yeah. The books were really good. As they went further along, I noticed that the movies changed a lot more. So, like, the first book was very similar to the first movie. And then, as you went further along, so second book was even less like the book. Still very similar. And then the third book had quite a few changes. But both the movies and the books were really good. Oh, here's another book I might be able to read. I think. Let's see. When was this published? I think it was originally published in the 1940s. It's 1984 by George Orwell. I don't know if that's a classic work that's open, like something that I'm able to read online without getting permission. I'd have to check that, but that's something else I could possibly read later on. Let's see. 15 till. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and close this down for tonight. I'm probably going to read another chapter of Treasure Island tomorrow, if I can find the time. Around this same time, probably about 10 to 10:30. Yep. Good night, everybody. And for those of you who join after this is no longer live, thanks for watching through the whole thing, even though I don't know where I was going with that. I started somewhere. Thanks for watching anyway. And to you who is live, thanks for watching as well, sticking to the end. And I guess I'll see everybody next time. So have a good night. God bless. Let's see. How do you turn this off again? Is it an X? Yes.